Okay. Commissioner Chaco, can you hear us? Michael? Okay. We just lost.
I can hear, but it's very choppy. A lot of background.
Loud background. Okay. Can you lower the volume? Can you lower the volume?
I think we don't need this.
I'm not sure if it's my internet connection, but the pictures are not clear at all.
Okay. How about now? Is the volume clearer? Is the volume better? Mike? Is the volume better? Oh, boy. Mike, can you hear us? We lost your picture. Is the sound better?
The gear?
Is the sound better? Okay.
Where it says settings?
Yes.
Okay, what? What should I do?
And there's speakers. Can you double check the check mark?
Well, for me, it says there's no speaker, but it says computer, phone call, no audio. Is that the one? There's audio, camera, general, computer, phone call, no audio. So which one? Try audio?
Yes, channel.
Under settings, nothing happened. So let me try no audio.
Okay. So they can hear us. For the people out there who are seeing us on YouTube on live stream, we're having some technical difficulties, so just bear with us for a minute. The meeting has not started. We won't start the meeting until we take care of some technical difficulties we're having.
Well, there's the speakers. So what do I do? It says default speaker, then communication speaker, speaker headphone, speaker headphone. It's already checked. With that. So the green icon is showing. I'm not hearing anything from the boardroom. I'm listening to my iPhone.
So I'll send it to your Gmail?
Okay, the no audio went off.
Okay, very good. I'll send it in a few minutes.
Okay, so
Okay, we're gonna have to figure it out.
next.
Okay,
You can hear me though, right?
okay.
But that's on my phone. But how about from the computer? Can you hear me? We have a problem here.
Okay, who said that? Who's,
I
Mike?
want to say, it's not working. Hello?
I can hear, I can hear her.
Okay. Patty said she can hear me,
I can hear her.
but I can't hear you guys in the boardroom.
Judy, can you hear us? Judy?
Judy, you can't hear us? Is your mic on?
Yeah, my mic's on.
Okay.
Test one? My mic's on.
Oh, Mike said he can hear. Okay.
Okay, but we lost his picture. Michael had his picture on.
I'm back again, but I said, I can't hear anything from the boardroom, but Patty Dago sent me a message that she can hear me
Yes, we can hear you.
in the boardroom. But I'm not picking up anything from the boardroom.
We're getting her on this now. She's on this part, but she's not hearing us.
And the microphone is on.
Who is Francis talking to?
Okay, hold on. Default. Now it's not showing. No, not now.
Okay, now I'm gonna really confuse people. I'm gonna go on my Facebook.
Oh, don't do that.
Well, then maybe I can help her with her connection.
That's what's on now.
Lou, what's the best, CC only, is that the best one?
Fab, yes.
Are they speaking?
Okay, yeah, okay.
We can't hear anything.
You might recommend that, ask Judy just to dial in or just.
No, I can't hear anything, even on my phone.
Call into the phone there? Yeah. On the table?
Francis, I can hear you, Francis. We can hear her. We can hear her on this. She can- Her thing. No. So tell her now that they're getting my. But she needs to get off the phone. Yeah. Right. Not in the camera? Here's her number. It's 488. Here, don't lose it. Okay.
Yes.
Judy, so we're playing you through the speakerphone now?
Okay. But
Tell her to mute, yeah. Mute her computer. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Hello, ma'am. Judy?
yes,
Judy?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, we
Great.
can hear you.
And there's no interference, right? I'm using my phone to do this, but I'm watching on the computer.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay? You can still hear us, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Judy's on, Simon and I are here. Mike, can you hear us? Mike Mchako? Commissioner Mchako, are you on?
Oh, no.
Commissioner Mchako? How about Francis Santos? Can you hear us? Can you see us? Oh, I see a green light went on. Francis, are you? Okay. Okay. So, Francis, you're on.
Mike's not on.
Mike, can you hear us? Commissioner Mchako? I know his light is green. We had video from him.
It's on mute.
Hello? Mike, can you see us? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
No, Judy, we know. Mike? Commissioner Mchako? Can you hear us? Michael?
It's on
He has
mute.
the same problem I have. You'll have to use his phone to hear you.
Okay, Judy, just a minute, Judy. Just a minute. We're going to see. Commissioner Mchako, can you hear us? Well, I can see you. Can you hear us? I can see you.
We can't hear.
We can't hear you.
On mute, maybe.
Simon, we're on YouTube already. We can't hear you, Mike.
Maybe it's on mute.
He's got green.
He's got green.
Yeah, he's green. You can hear us, but we can't hear you, Mike.
Maybe he needs to call in here too.
No, we can conference him if you want. Yeah, we can conference him.
Who's that? Who's that talking? Francis, is that you? Yeah, it's not green, right? It's supposed to be green.
Trying to fix his microphone.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Santos, are you there? Commissioner Francis Santos. Okay, we don't see you, but we can hear you. Okay. Okay.
It's the best you've looked, Commissioner Thomas.
Good, just stay on. We have Judy on, we have you, we're just waiting for Commissioner Chalco. Once we get him on, We can go. Are you there? Yes, we can hear you now, Mike. Okay. So everybody's here, everybody should be online. Okay, Judy's here. Judy, you can hear us, right?
I can hear you.
Okay. I'm going to start our meeting. Let's try and see how we do this. Okay, so this is a meeting, this is a meeting of the Consolidated Commission on Utilities. And those present are myself and Commissioner Sanchez. And online, we have Commissioner Michael Limchalco, Commissioner Francis Santos, and Commissioner Judy Gutherts. Everybody's online. So we have a meeting, we have a quorum. Okay, so first order of business is approval of minutes. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Sanchez.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 21st GPA work session minutes.
Okay, is there a second to that? Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Santos. That's you seconding, right?
Limtiaco.
Or Commissioner, who seconded that? Oh, Francis already seconded. So motion to approve the minutes of May 21st, moved by Commissioner Sanchez, seconded by Commissioner Commissioner Santos. Any further discussion on those minutes? This was a work session that we had where we made some approvals. Okay?
It was the May 21st
May 21st
GPA
work session.
Mr. Chairman.
So if there's no discussion, we'll do a roll call vote to approve the minutes. Commissioner Sanchez.
Aye.
Commissioner Santos.
Yes.
Commissioner Michalco. Commissioner Michalco.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, got it. Commissioner Gutherts. Commissioner Gutherts. Yes? Okay. The motion to approve the minutes duly seconded is hereby approved unanimous. Okay? The next minutes, Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the Guam Waterworks Authority work session of Tuesday, June 16th, 2020.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second to that motion? Commissioner Gutherts is second the motion. And if there's no further discussion, we'll have a roll call vote to approve the minutes of that meeting. Commissioner Sanchez.
Aye.
Commissioner Michalco. Commissioner Michalco. Commissioner Santos. Commissioner Santos. Commissioner Gutherts. Commissioner Santos. Okay, Commissioner Santos. Commissioner Michalco. And the chair votes aye. Commissioner Michalco? Commissioner Santos? Commissioner Michalco? Commissioner Santos? Commissioner Santos? Commissioner Michalco? They can't hear us? Both of them?
Mr. If you vote, we can approve the minutes and
Okay.
then maybe recess and let's see if we
Okay.
can figure this out.
And the chair votes to approve the minutes of the meeting of June 16th, the Guam Waterworks working session. So that's 3 votes that we have. Commissioner Sanchez, myself, and Commissioner Gutherts. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
But there was a moment there, everybody could hear everybody, so. She's on the phone.
Just sit tight. Yes, Judy, that's fine, just as long as you can hear us. Okay? You're saying sit tight.
Why don't we do that, and then if they're able to get them on, great. If not,
Yes,
we
we-
can at least conduct a meeting.
Because they can hear us, and
Right.
from here, they're just seeing. Yeah, yeah.
Everybody, right? Okay. The next order of business is let's go straight to the resolutions, if you don't mind. Let's concentrate on that. 2021 budget for GPA. Mr. Benavente.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. This is the request, the Commission's approval of our fiscal year 2021 budget. Total of $347,138,000 for O&M, and a CIP budget of $25,700,800. Basically, our O&M consists of labor, retiree benefit costs of about 50.254 million, non-labor of about 31.227935 million, reduced for capitalized O&M of 6,590,042, and for a total O&M budget of 74,892,144. Bad debt expense accounted for of about 1,045,000, and budget for independent power producers plus costs plus agricultural payments of 22,600,000. And our debt service for fiscal year 2021 is 47,763,000. The revenue-funded CIP improvement project of 25,700,800 is approved. If it's approved, we're also asking your request to petition the PUC for their approval. Again, we have a summary of the revenue requirements dated of August 7. Of course, because our work session was, because our regular meeting was postponed. And again, the authorized level of positions for the authority is 490 FTEs. And as usual, the general manager is authorized to transfer no more than 10% of the overall approved budget, except that there shall be no transfer into the personal accounts from other non-labor accounts. Currently, our FTE level is about 445, and our authorized level is 490. We're presenting the comparison, what our FY 2020 approved budget was, what we projected as a result of COVID-19 our budget is going to go to, which is about, again, projecting this year will be at 155,540,000, and our new budget is really 155 million. So basically, we've dropped about 12 million from the FY 2020 budget in expected revenues. Our total budget for the period, including fuel minus the bad debt, is 347 million compared to FY 2020 budget of 435 million, and an adjusted COVID budget of $334 million. Our O&M in itself is again from 76.98988 in fiscal year 2020 to a projected 72.3 million for the balance of the FY 20 adjusted for COVID. On our O&M, we're requesting is 74.892 million for FY 2021. All the other coverages for service are here, and what you see at the end is, again, if you go to the next page, our projection is to, it's okay. Our projection is, whereas in FY 2020 our proof, we were projecting a 1.37 debt service coverage under the S&P method at the end of the fiscal year. We're now under COVID projecting 1.31, which is just above the minimum. And again, for 2021, we're projecting 1.33. And again, we will do whatever is necessary to cut expenses to make sure that we meet our coverage as necessary. Being, I will show you, it's in my GM's report. You will see that the revenues, the production is catching up to FY 2019. There was a big lag over, the last few months, but it is now catching up to where it was in FY 2019. However, we're still projecting lower than that because we don't know. There are still a lot of businesses other areas that are not, may not come back, or of course have really cut back in sales. So we feel safe with this budget, and again, we will do whatever's necessary to adjust to accomplish this.
Okay, as a start, could I ask that we have a motion to approve the budget and then we can go to discussion? Motion to approve? Go ahead, say it.
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second, moved by Commissioner Guthertz, second by Commissioner Sanchez.
And Mr. Chairman, this
Is
is
there any
resolution,
question?
this is resolution 2020-18.
2018. Okay, Commissioner Sanchez.
Yeah, just a quick question. John, Kim, on the fuel side, if we sometimes we over recover and sometimes we under recover, right? And like right now, we think there's a possibility of an under recovery that we would have to think about in 2021. But I notice your revenues for fuel and your costs for fuel are the same, right? How do we, from a budget point of view, how do we talk about the over and the under recovery? Does that budget, the budget doesn't really speak to that?
The way the FERC works for under recovery is that we only record revenue of what we collected. So if your cost is higher than the revenue collected, it goes as under recovery. So out of September, we should have under recovery close to $5 million. So in the 2021 budget, we included that we're going to recover.
But you don't show the, I guess because it's all on the balance sheet, it doesn't flow through the P&L side? If you have less revenue than fuel expense, and the only reason I ask is if we are going to do some over recovery next fiscal year, then it helps your debt service coverage as well. It'll drive that ratio up. So how do we think about that?
Yeah. So the way we did our budget for 2021 was that in fiscal year 2021, by end of September, we will recover any under recovery we had in September of 2020.
But that you don't pick that up as fuel revenues in 2021?
So yes, that will be recorded as a fuel revenue.
Right.
So you increase the revenues.
Right.
And if if you have zero recovery, the under recovery you had in September gets recorded as expenses in 2021.
Oh, I see. So that's okay. So that's how.
Yes, it goes from the balance sheet of deferred tax, under recovery to.
Because it's deferred, right? You'll pick it up when we actually have the revenue against the actual expense. And then are you expensing the inventory as we consume it? In other words, like you said, we're burning probably the cheapest fuel now, right?
I think it's first.
But remember we had John brought in a big tanker in May or something. We're starting to burn, that was the cheapest, that's among the cheapest fuel we bought, right?
Yes.
John's starting to burn that now, right?
Yes.
And it's being expensed now as well? Okay. Okay, so that'll help on the over and under. Okay, that was the only question I had. The rest of the budget looks pretty straightforward.
Are there any questions from the other commissioners? Commissioner Guthertz, Commissioner Santos?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, John, I just want to make sure that funding is adequate for our cybersecurity program and for our training division, particularly for our management succession and upgrading in employee skills for new technology. Can you address that for a little bit?
For those items, we do also have a maintenance programs in there.
Those are covered.
So you think that, do you think that's adequate for next fiscal year?
Yes, and certainly if not, then we'll make the transfers as necessary within the 10% transfer authority. But we will maintain our total O&M to be no more than the $74 million, depending on assuring if we're sure that we are going to get the $155 million in revenue.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, are there any other questions, Commissioner Santos or Commissioner Mchalco?
None for me.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I reviewed the budget and no questions.
Okay. Therefore, if there's no further questions or discussion,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Chairman, I'm sorry, I forgot one more thing.
Yes, Commissioner Guthertz.
Thank you very much. I want to make sure that the funding for the public information initiatives are significant enough to ensure that throughout the remainder of the pandemic and anything else that may happen in the future, like a typhoon or anything like that, that we have adequate resources to fund our communications office. They're able to do the public outreach regularly. So, can you assure us, Mr.
Benavente?
I'll continue to fund that office as necessary.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, we'll do a roll call vote again. Commissioner Sanchez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gutherz.
Aye.
Commissioner Limchaco.
Aye.
Commissioner Santos.
Aye.
And the chair also votes aye, so it's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Moving on, can we move to
GM report.
huh?
GM report?
Can we
Okay.
do like that? Let's go back to,
Miguel?
I want to deal with the resolutions first, the budgets and the other resolutions that we have to do. I'd like to do those first. Is Miguel on? Okay.
I can.
While we're waiting for Miguel to come in the room, John, do you want to very briefly give us the big picture?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically, I do have a GM report updated for the latest information. I'll just point out the significant things. One, our revenue and peak demand is actually tracking close to 2019 numbers now. You know, it'll be around there, still be a little lag, but I think we're getting closer to that. Our energy storage batteries are being, our work is continuing. There might be again a slight delay because of the quarantines, but at least the work is continuing. The phase 3 OPA
The
protest, everything is done. Now it's really in the hands of the OPA to make a decision, which is used typically within 30 days. Good news is that there's 6 standby generators from the water wells that were damaged in Typhoon Mangkhut, and that's being repaired now as a result of FEMA grants. In addition to that, we already have received 4 portable standby generators, and an additional 9 are coming in by the end of September.
Okay.
And you see that list is going to add now to making sure the water system is available especially during storms. We are rolling out the outage management system beginning Monday. A lot of advertisement, and this is where when an outage occurs, there will be texts as to the information about their outages more and more. So that outage management is rolling out Monday. And other than that, again, we have all the graphs in the GM report.
And the report for the people who are not here present, our commissioners, as well as for the public who's viewing this or is watching us, this report, as all our reports, are also online. They're on our website for GPA. So you can go to the website and view all of those. Okay? Thank you very much, John. Does any of the commissioners have any questions for Mr. Benavente? If not, I'd like to move to GWA. Could we get General Manager Miguel Bordallo in, please?
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. And could we go straight to the resolutions first?
Yes, sir.
While we have everybody still together?
Sure. First up is Resolution 35, FY 2020.
Okay.
And this is seeking approval for construction contract change order number 3 for our Route 4 relief sewer line project. As we mentioned in the work session, the contractor experienced delays at the intersection of Route 4 and West O'Brien Drive because of undocumented telephone cables, and they were concrete encased, and it required the work to be done by hand. And we negotiated the original proposed change order down significantly to what we believe is fair and reasonable. We are seeking authorization for an additional $58,378 for this change order, which would bring the total cost of the authorized funding for the project to $3.854 million.
Okay, and this was discussed in the work session, so Commissioners, the Chair will entertain a motion to approve. Commissioner Sanchez.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
I second.
Okay. Commissioner Mchalko, motion to approve Resolution
35.
35, and second by Commissioner Guthertz. We discussed this at the work session. If there are no further discussion, we would go to a roll call vote again? Okay. Commissioner Sanchez.
Aye.
Commissioner Limchalco.
Aye.
Commissioner Santos.
Aye.
Commissioner Guthertz.
Yes.
And the chair votes aye also, so it's unanimous. Mr. Bordallo, go to the next resolution, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next resolution is 37 FY 2020, and this is seeking the board's approval for us to execute the collective bargaining agreement between the Guam Water Works Authority and the Guam Federation of Teachers. The AGM provided the update on that at the work session and indicated the major changes from the previous collective bargaining agreement. There was a question with regard to the agreement meeting all the requirements of law, which the council has provided his written opinion stating that it does. So if there are any other concerns.
That was the one question. Commissioners, do you have any other questions? The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question.
Okay, could we have a motion though to approve first? And then,
Motion to discuss.
okay,
Second.
Commissioner Santos moved to motion to approve to discuss, and Commissioner Sanchez is seconding the motion. Commissioner Mchalko, your question, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I reviewed the responses that to the questions that we had asked in the working session. I saw legal counsel's response as well as Chris Brodowski's response. But what I don't think was addressed was the conversation we were having regarding who pays for the mediation when we do enter into it. One of the things that we discussed was if an issue is brought with one of the employees that's not very relevant, are we still having to put the bill typically in mediation if the losing party, does not prevail, they assume the cost for that? Are we still, based on this agreement, are we still absorbing the cost for all mediation?
Identify. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Go.
The answer is yes.
Identify.
Wow.
This is Chris Budowski from GWA.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner, just a minute. Commissioner Guthertz. Commissioner Mchalko, did you hear that answer?
I did.
Okay.
I did, and
Okay.
I'm of the opinion that that we shouldn't have to. I think especially if we prevail through mediation. But other than that, that's my only concern with this.
Okay. Does Commissioner Guthertz, you also wanted to say something?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, remember I brought it up at our last meeting. What was the communication that was received from that office regarding why there was such a delay?
One more time. What was your question, Commissioner Guthertz? Could you repeat that?
Remember the delay
For
occurred partly from the office, I think it's the Historic Preservation Office, correct?
No. We're not talking about that, Commissioner Guthertz. We're talking about this. This is a resolution to approve the agreement between
Bargaining agreement.
collective bargaining
Okay,
agreement.
got it.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll wait.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Okay. So back to this question. Commissioner Chaco, do you have any further thoughts?
No, I've expressed my concern with that provision of it.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
if any of the other commissioners
I
have
have-
anything to add to it?
Okay, I have a question. What if we, as a board, decide that, with that one exception, the contract, what if we do not believe that that is a fair agreement? That does not parties, the utility and the collective bargaining unit.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
The question is, what if the board, if I understand it, what if the commissioners do not believe that what has already been approved in the collective bargaining agreement with respect to mediation and the cost of mediation being absorbed entirely by GWA, if they don't agree with that, what would be?
What would be what could we do now?
Yeah.
Well,
Let me just make sure we're all clear on this. The point that Commissioner Chaco makes is a valid point, which is if we prevail in the mediation, then the other party is the one who should pay for it. And I think if neither party prevails, then we each pay our costs. We split it. But I think if we prevail, we have to pay for it.
Well, I think the purpose of the mediation is not for one party or the other to prevail, it's for both parties to come to an agreement, to avoid going to the traditional venue, which would be the Civil Service Commission, at which point either the union pays for the expenses for their representation of the employee, and we pay for the expenses for representing
The utility.
authority.
Okay, let me ask the question then. So therefore, if we go into mediation and we do not resolve the mediation, do we pay for our cost only and they pay for their cost?
yeah, for splitting the costs.
Yeah,
at civil service,
no,
why
what I'm
don't-
saying-
Why don't we
what
split
I'm
the
saying
costs
is-
on mediation?
What I'm saying is, if we go into mediation, and the mediation is resolved in our favor or in the favor of the employee, I get that. What if the mediation doesn't resolve the thing at all, and we go to the Civil Service Commission? Do we have to pay anything as our cost, or? Because then I could see saying, okay, forget what you put down there, but if we go into mediation and we don't resolve it in a mediation, then the next step is for them to go to the Civil Service Commission, but we should not, we'll pay our share of the mediation at that point.
So, Mr. Chairman, the thought behind the process was that mediation is a quick way to try to resolve a grievance before it gets.
We
too
get
far
that and we
ahead.
like that part.
And I think the issue is if the employee is going to have to pay for the mediation, which is relatively inexpensive, they're never going to choose that route because they're not going to want to put out of pocket to go to mediation.
Why doesn't the union pay for it? They're representing, I mean, you join a union for the value of their membership, right? And you would think the union would then represent its members in mediation. They collect fees from these employees. Shouldn't
For their
they
members?
could use those fees to
From their members?
pay from their members to? I mean, I'm surprised that a union wouldn't use their fees to pay for related out-of-pocket costs, whether it's mediation or whatever it is, right? So why do we bear in good, and everyone's negotiating in good faith, so shouldn't the cost be allocated in good faith and have the union pay for the employee that they convinced to have them be represented? It's kind of like the union is getting the union dues and not incurring any costs to protect their member.
To service their member.
And to service their member, and they're putting all the burden on management, when the whole goal we all agree on the goal of mediation and even going to civil service, the costs are split. Why could we ask management to go back to the union and have them agree to split all costs of mediation or any subsequent deliberation that incurs costs?
Could, before you do that though, before you answer that, could I just ask a question? You mentioned, Mr. Berdossi, that the costs are very minor. Two things. First off, are you sure? And the second question is, what does that mean?
So
What does
I
minor mean?
participated in several mediations in a previous job within the government, and the average cost of a mediation is about $300 in the ones that I had participated in.
And the union can't pay for that? Pay for that?
No, I'm
Well,
not
there's-
suggesting they can, I'm just.
Okay, when you participated, was there ever an issue of splitting the cost between?
Well, the
utility-
cost was covered by the government agency. It wasn't.
Well, this is ratepayer money, it's not our money.
Yeah, no, we get that, but, okay, well, any other, I think we kind of have an idea of where the commissioners are. What do you want to do, Commissioner Sanchez?
How difficult would it be to just take this one issue back to the union and ask them to consider sharing the cost? You know, this is.
I don't think it's difficult to take it back to them and ask for it, but because they voted on it and approved it in its form, then they might have to repeat that process if it's amended. So it's additional time.
That's no different than what we're doing now, where you're asking us to approve it, essentially has to form, and we're saying,
Understand.
can you look at this one clause? It doesn't sound like the costs are prohibitive, but I think in any negotiation between parties, if costs are incurred to resolve something that's mediated, those costs should be shared. I'm surprised the
So, I'm sorry, is it shared, or
Well,
is it they're paying for it? Because previously you said, why
No,
can't
no.
the union pay for it?
No,
No,
if it was $300, we'd pay $150 in the other, and the
Okay,
union.
so
It's shared.
shared is what we're
It's
looking for.
shared, because.
I just
At
want
least
to
that's my intention. I
That
don't know
was our
if Commissioner
intention.
Limtiako's, but that's my sense of it is.
And,
One of the things is that this is voluntary on both parties. This is not a mandatory mediation. So we wouldn't do this unless we thought it was going to be, unless we thought we were going to get a favorable result. So, and to go back, the union would have to ratify the changes.
okay,
So it
now
would, it's going to be 2 or 3
okay.
months down the road.
Okay, but there's two things here. The first issue you said is, so therefore, the employee and the union don't have a right to mediation. It has to be something we both agree to.
Correct.
Okay. And the option, if we don't agree to go to mediation, the option is to go to the Civil Service Commission.
Correct.
Okay.
And if we go to the civil service, that cost is split between us and the
No,
union?
we pay
They
our
don't pay
cost.
anything.
We
Because
pay,
we're the ones-
The union has the representatives show up for them. It doesn't cost the employee anything.
the union takes care of that cost.
Who wins and loses civil service case, right?
If it goes,
If CTA loses, then it would be required to pay the cost. Wouldn't that be the case?
no, not at the CSC level. If you go to court past that, then it would be that, and you'd be dealing with
Okay.
attorney's fees then.
Yeah, I think the civil service, if you go the civil service route, the utility pays its cost. In other words, we have our attorney, and then whatever the decision from the Civil Service Commission is, this is my little knowledge, is that's their decision and that's it.
Yes.
Right, we just
So,
implement it.
Yeah, and the only other thing you do is if you ever go to court, when you go to court, that's where the court may decide to award, to the winner, say, okay, loser, you have to pay for these costs because you brought this.
If the contract says we eat all the costs, the court's not going to say that. The court's going to
Okay.
say, hey, you signed a contract where you eat all the costs.
Okay, if we were to go to the route of going to court, if we didn't like the Civil Service Commission's decision, then, and we lose, who bears the cost? I think we
Lose or win?
The judge could award attorney's fees against us.
against us, if
Yes,
we lost.
That's true.
Okay,
Yes.
if we won,
The
judge-
The same,
yeah.
could happen.
So that's in the contract, right? If a court rules in our favor, then,
I don't think that's
I mean, it'd be up to the court.
That's not.
That's just what the court can do.
It's just what the court can do.
That has nothing to do with.
Got it.
Okay, so, commissioners, just if I may, kind of state where we're at. One, mediation is not something that the employee and the union have a right to. We have to agree to mediation. Two, if we go to mediation, the way the contract currently is written, we would pay the cost of mediation. And our staff, our management.
Because we invoke it, right?
Yeah,
Yes, that's sort of the logic.
yes.
We're the ones invoking it, yeah.
Okay. So, where do you want to go? I personally,
I have another question, Mr. Chair.
sure, Commissioner Taco.
So, Miguel, based on, I mean, obviously these collective bargaining agreements are a negotiation. Do you feel that you've negotiated in the best interest of GWA and the ratepayers, inclusive of this potential, or inclusive of the mediation requirement? You feel you've negotiated the best agreement?
Yes, Commissioner, I do.
All right.
It took over a year. It took over a year of negotiations to get it done.
Okay, we're looking at this one. Okay. Any other further discussion, commissioners?
Not for me, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Can we then move to a vote on this resolution?
Yes.
No objection? Okay. So I'm going to do a roll call vote again. Commissioner Sanchez,
On Resolution 37, 2020, aye.
Commissioner Gutherts,
I'll vote yes.
Commissioner Santos, Commissioner Santos? Commissioner No?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Mtalco?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on the last question that I asked, obviously a CBA is a negotiation. You're not going to get everything you want. I'm not very happy with what was negotiated for the mediation, but I will vote yes.
Okay. And the chair will vote yes. So the votes are 4 yes and 1 nay. Okay? The nay is Commissioner Santos. The resolution is adopted. Moving along to the next resolution, Mr. Bordelli.
The next resolution, Mr. Chair, is 38 FY 2020, and this is relative to adopting GWA's fiscal year 21 operating budget.
Okay. Commissioner Sanchez.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Resolution 38, 2020, relative to adopting the 2021 budget for Guam Waterworks Authority.
Second by Commissioner Santos? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Commissioner Sanchez?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we were able to get a work session on this. I think management did a very good job of detailing the budget. It is obviously has to make its most educated guess on revenues that everyone is having to do now, given the uncertainty with COVID. And it's as prudent a budget as I think you can ask at this point. And I think it allows us to just move forward, and then we'll see how it goes, because it's and it incorporates the PUC rate decision that lowered the rate increase request of GWA. That budget now fits underneath that lower revenue request, and that's why I'm comfortable in supporting it.
Yes, I'd like to also point out that, along with Commissioner Sanchez, that there is a 5% increase that takes effect October 1st, when the new fiscal year begins. That's already been approved by the PUC, and the budget reflects that. So I think I'm very comfortable with the budget as presented also. Is there a motion? Did we do a motion to approve
Mr.
it?
Chairman,
Yes, we do.
I'd like to make a comment.
Sure, go ahead, Commissioner Gutherts.
Thank you. I think that the budget presents a realistic presentation of our needs as an agency to meet our responsibilities to our ratepayers. However, I just want to encourage management and all of our employees, please do everything you can to minimize costs to our ratepayers. I think, Mr. Chairman, we can all agree that it's going to take a long time for most of the people of Guam to recover from this terrible epidemic that we've experienced this year. And we want to show the people of Guam that we are prudent and conservative in the way we spend their ratepayer money. So I want to continue to encourage our management to be guided accordingly with a strong commitment to our people. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other commissioners wish to make a statement? If not,
I know sta-
Pardon?
no statement, Mr. Chair. I just have some questions regarding the
Sure.
assumptions.
sure, go ahead, Commissioner Chaco.
Okay. Based on the working session, there were some questions that were asked, and I know that the DWA CFO has responded regarding the questions about the budget. And I noticed that on the hotel option, or excuse me, item B that was addressed, the hotel and how they based the average revenue on it. I know it's 80%, but it's 80% of the October 19th to February 20 consumption, and that was pre-COVID. And I just wanted to ask, are you confident that 80%, considering the state of the existing tourism industry, is that an accurate assumption that we can achieve 80% of the pre-COVID
Sales.
hotel consumption given the current state of our tourism?
So your question is it an accurate assumption? I guess I would characterize it as it's the best projection that we can make at this point, and it's consistent with information that we have coordinated with BDMR and the government of Guam in terms of our coordination for the Series 2020 PD bonds.
Okay, and that's just the time frame, that number was just used for the time frame from April 21st to September 21st. I mean, April 2021 to September 21, year 2021.
Right.
So,
The projections are that we will continue on our current demand pattern through the first quarter of the calendar year, and then after that, there will be a recovery to 80% of the pre-pandemic levels. For demand in that class.
Okay. Commissioner Sanchez.
So, given the challenge of projecting any of this stuff, right? Have you thought about, you and Tolling thought about, the what ifs, the 80% doesn't hit, and how much flexibility, what can you do on the spend side? At the end of the day, we have to fit within our revenue.
So that's the whole point of the cost containment plan that we put into place, and the streamlined financial modeling that we are using month over month. Take a look at whether we're meeting what our projections were, reevaluate what our projections should be the rest of the year, and then make adjustments to our expenses accordingly. So the whole process will be dynamic as it has been for the past several months, and we'll look at this on a month-over-month basis.
Right, and in the past, for our, at GPA and now at GWA, now that we're able to do some internally financed CIPs, that actually often becomes one of the things we delay if revenues fall on the GPA side. Is that something we would consider on the GWA side? We would delay internally financed CIPs in case revenues fell, because as opposed to other budget
We've
parts.
already done that. We've already done that, and we in areas that we have been able to make up for it because of the additional proceeds from our very favorable bond financing. We've been able to put that back, but we remain flexible with what we can spend on IFCIP.
So that may be one of the variables we can manipulate. It's not the right word. React with, I guess, depending on how these projections play out. Yeah,
Okay. I'd like to just
internally finance CIP.
Right, that's correct.
Not the bond CIP. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to ask a question, though. In terms of your overall revenue, I know that the hotels, for example, their water bills are high, but how much does that group of revenue really impact your total revenue? Your 100% of revenue is it 50% of your
No.
revenue?
No.
Is it 20% of your revenue?
Do you remember the number off that?
It's probably closer to the 20% than.
Okay, so just so that we feel good about this, one of the things we can look at is this, when you say you're projecting that you will get back, it is a substantial amount, but I believe when I looked at it, it's less than 20%. So, it's something that you can then manage with your internally funded CIPs. You can go through your numbers. It's something that you can work with. I'm not as concerned with that as I would be if it were a bigger number. Okay?
What we've been seeing over the last few months is that the consumption drop by the commercial class has been made up by the residential class. But where that affects us negatively is in
Wastewater.
the sewer
Wastewater side.
revenues
Right.
because residential consumption for sewer is flat.
Flat,
It's a
yes,
flat rate.
we get that. And you said that last, at the work session, so I think, nobody has a good crystal ball where we're going. I mean, I don't know, is tourism coming back in 3 months, 5 months, a year, 2 years? I don't know. But I feel comfortable, I just want to make sure that we look at it from the perspective of, we feel comfortable because the bulk of the revenue is really not just from hotels. Okay?
One thing I'll add, in response to that, the Commissioner Guthert's comment about doing everything we can to save on expenses, that was exactly the reason why, even though the market conditions were initially very difficult, we went back out to do the refunding of our previous bonds, and we were able to save $1.5 to $1.7 million a year on debt service, which is, also a big savings for us. So we're doing everything we can. We're monitoring our revenues and our expenses. We have the cost containment measures in place, and we maintain the flexibility to make adjustments as we move through the remainder of the fiscal year and into next fiscal year.
Okay. Commissioner Sanchez.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. A quick question to Miguel and Tolling. How about with Guam and the schools in particular? Are we noticing the same dynamic where another reason residential may be going up is because people are teaching at home, rather, they're not going to the schools, they're not using the restroom at the schools, they're not drinking the water at the schools. Are you seeing the same dynamic with Guam on the, because I think they're, as a bulk user, they're our second largest
Right,
user,
so
right?
we are seeing a similar drop in consumption with the government class. As I said, the residential consumption has, for a large portion, made that up, but again, where we're seeing the impact is mainly on the sewer side of revenues.
And I think the other thing both companies have to watch is, while you're seeing that shift, the presumption that the residential class can pay its higher usage, particularly with the high unemployment we have, we're okay now because they've had PUA and FBUC and PPPs, but it's pretty obvious that that's not going to continue in 2021 at the same level that it did in 2020. And I really want to tip my hat to our ratepayers who really have taken advantage of that federal money to try to keep their bills, actually do a very good job of keeping their bills current. But in 2021, one of our challenges
For both utilities, really.
both is that we may inherit is the inability of the shift to the residential, the inability of residential customers to pay their power or their water bill if they can't go back to work. And I don't, that's not said as a criticism, it's just sort of as a reality.
It's a reality.
It's a reality that if tourism doesn't come back, 10, 12,000 households that are employed by tourism are still going to be using power and water while they teach their kids at home, right, and stay home. But their ability to pay us is really going to challenge us. So I think, I think, to me, Miguel's used like the chairman said, this is a crystal ball. We hope it'll be as close to accurate as possible. But that's one of my concerns is the ability to pay of our customers as this uncertainty continues.
Okay, Commissioners, are there any further discussion or questions? If there's no further discussion, I'm going to do a roll call vote. Commissioner Sanchez.
I vote aye on the budget, FY 2020 Resolution 38.
Commissioner Santos.
Aye.
Commissioner Limchalco.
Aye.
Commissioner Gutherts.
Yes.
And the chair votes aye also, so it's unanimous. We'll now, we went through the work session with the GM report and the financials. Are there any questions that any commissioners have? If there are no questions.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Move to adjourn.